morning, everyone, and welcome to a new session of Ashram Talks. This is Subhadra from Colombia. And in our previous classes, we've been discussing the nature of the soul, the fact that it's never born, and that it cannot be destroyed or damaged by any means. And after hearing this, we might be wondering what death is. And to discuss and to go deeper into that topic, we have Haripriya Benedict with us today with a powerful topic that's called For the Soul, There's Never a Death. Welcome, Haripriya. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yes, it's been deep and rich. So before we begin, I'll just offer my respects to my spiritual teacher and they say shiksha and diksha gurus, meaning someone who gave me knowledge personally, and then those who also instruct me. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Goswami Atinamine Gaurabani Pacharaya Vededa Sankalpamurte Krishna Shakti Svarupaya Shri Bhakti Pradayane Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Atinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nir Vishesha Sunyavadi Paschacha Dishitarine. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So again, we are in chapter 2, and today we are at verse 20 and 21, for those of you who want to follow along. Rich, deep verses, and as we dive in, there's one of my teachers one time said the most dangerous words in the English language, there's three most dangerous words in the English language. What do you think they might be? And I know I can't hear you, but you could type it in the chat if you want. Colleen, nice to see you here. So the three most dangerous words in the English language are, I know that. I know that. Because there's different levels of knowing, right? We can know it intellectually, we can know it internally, we can know it as a realization. And we can, even once we feel like, oh, I realized it, I know this, then we might even go deeper and know it all the time, right? So there's a difference between understanding that I'm a soul, understanding that I'm permanent. That's what we're going to dive into today. We can intellectually understand it, and we might say, oh, yeah, I know that. But how deeply do we know it? So that's, I invite you to hear and with the mood of going deeper, with the mood of not only wanting to feel it in your body, but to be aware of it, become conscious of it. So in the purport of today's verse, Srila Prabhupada actually says consciousness is a symptom of the self, the soul. So if there's consciousness, there's a soul, there's a spark, there's you. So how deeply is it in our consciousness, right? Do we live day to day, hour by hour with this knowledge? How would our life be different if we had this knowledge permanently? And we, in our entire day, always remembered, always knew who we really were, that we were within the body, but we were not the body, right? So I invite that, since I'm sure many of you have heard these amazing concepts, and yet we can always go deeper. So I'll go ahead and do the verse. 220 is, for the soul, there is never birth nor death. Nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So this is really rich, really deep, that we are permanent. We don't die. And we can see that in our society. You know, we spend so much time, energy, and money on the attempt to not die, right? From analog breaks to medical treatments for our wrinkles. We are trying to defy old age and defy death. And it's because it's not our nature. It's not true for us. And so we're in these bodies and it doesn't feel right. Death? No, I don't want death. And because you actually are not going to ever die. So to really deeply understand that we're a soul, we're not the body, we are in the body. This body is a vehicle, it's a house, it's an instrument that we get to utilize. It's on loan. It's not permanent because we're borrowing it. It's on loan from the material universe, from God. So qualitatively, we're the same as God. Quantitatively, we're different. I'll elaborate a little bit more. And then I'll go to the next verse, actually. So I'll go a little bit here. So what's really powerful is to remember that, excuse me, is that we are like the spark. God is the fire, right? The entire fire. We're a spark of that fire. And now, because we're a spark and we're not the entire fire, we like in a fire, sparks might fly and they might fall. So we also have that ability to fall. It could happen to us that we get covered, that we misidentify, that we forget ourselves. So there's also a really sweet analogy in one of the lectures that Srila Prabhupada gives on this very verse. He said that when we see the sun in the sky, and then clouds come, and we say, oh, the clouds are covering the sun. But actually, they're not. The clouds aren't so large that they're covering this huge globe. They're covering our vision, our small eyes, right? Our small, the panorama that we have in front of us. So they're covering our view. So in that same way, God can never be covered. God is the sun. He can never be covered by illusion, or Maya. It's called Maya's means illusion. And we can go into a whole 5-day class on Maya, but I'll just leave it at Maya means illusion. So we as humans have a propensity to be illusioned. It's one of the natures of being in the human body, is that we could be illusioned. And so God is achyuta, though. God is never illusioned, never falls into Maya or misconceptions. But the soul, because we're small, we're this little spark, we can be covered just like our vision can be covered. We can't see the sun, so the clouds are covering our vision. In the same way, Maya, illusion, can cover our consciousness, can cover the purity of our consciousness, our real knowledge that we are souls, that we have amazing qualities of satisfaction. So there's some great poets, I think, that quoted once, we are seeking for that which is seeking. So in other words, what we want in this material world is really within us already. So that's because we're qualitatively the same, and that's also why we don't die. We're eternal. We never die. And to really deeply know that, wow, how would that impact our day? How would that impact our relationships with others? How would that impact our priorities? Knowing that we're in this body temporarily and it has utility and it's not us, right? So as Srila Prabhupada elaborated and expanded on this verse, he also spoke about that we make plans to adjust things for our own happiness. We usually think oh, there's some problem here, some challenge. And if I just shift this or, add a little of that or move this around, then we're going to find satisfaction. And usually we get frustrated. Or maybe we'll feel some satisfaction for some time, but then another challenge will come and then we'll address that. And then another challenge will come and then we'll address that. And so one teacher of mine used to say, it's like moving the chairs on the Titanic. It's like, we know the ship is going to sink. We know this body is only, let's say, 110 years maximum. It's going to be our residence for 110 years. And then the ship is going to sink. The body is going to die. The body's going to get old and no longer be functional. And in some sense, the good news is when the body is getting old, we're going to get a new one. Because we're eternal. We don't die. We're permanent. So our consciousness, our spark, our self will go then based on the mind, the subtle body, which is the mind, because you cannot see it, so it's subtle. So actually based on our desires, on our plans, of if I like an example of this would be well, if I had this much money in my bank account, or if I just had that job, or if I if I had the followers that he has, or, if I was doing my real calling, like what I really love, and I was successful at it the way this person is. So we tend to fall into the plan making. And that plan making is seeded out of desires, right? We have some desire to feel satisfied, to enjoy spiritually, actually. And so we try to enjoy materially in this temporary situation that is full of challenges because it's not our permanent home. And we address these challenges like we rearrange the chairs on the Titanic. Let me sit over here. I'm going to sit over here. But what are we doing? How deeply do we understand that this is a 110 maximum year vehicle? I'm being pretty generous. This is a vehicle. And then who am I? If I know I'm permanent, if I know, like this verse says, there's no death for me, then what do I want to spend my energy doing? And so that's when the illusion starts to get unveiled. When we start to ask that, when our consciousness starts to remember that we're permanent. So as long as we're identifying with the material frame that we're in, as long as we're identifying with this vehicle, and we think, I am a woman, I am American, or I'm Indian, or I'm French, or I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm the president, I'm the CEO. As soon as we really, that's the illusion, that we're identifying with those misconceptions. And based on those misconceptions, we have challenges that we then are trying to address. And we think, as soon as I've finished addressing this challenge, then I'll feel happiness. Then I'll be at ease. Then I'll be able to relax. Then I'll feel satisfied. And so as we experience this in our lives, the real satisfaction is unveiling that illusion, letting go of that misconception, and identifying properly. Because as long as we have this desire of, like, if I do this, or if I change this, if I just teach this workshop on this stage or this platform, and I have this many viewers, and I make this much every time, then I'll feel fulfilled all the time. Then life will be fulfilling. Or as soon as I pay off my mortgage, then I'll feel ease. Or as soon as I find my partner, as soon as I find the one that I feel like in love with, that loves me, then I'll be enjoying. And, as we get the carrot that we are after and we experience it, then we come to remember, oh, yeah, I wanted this and I really thought that was going to satisfy me. And now I have some other desire. Because the nature of the mind actually is to constantly produce these desires. And as the conscious self, we get to choose. What desire do I really want? What do I want to reinforce? What do I want to meditate on and remind myself of, versus what do I just automatically, right? Not consciously, but just autopilot. I have a thought, I have a desire. Yeah, I need to achieve that. I need to get 3 more listings, So I'm a realtor. So I'm a realtor and I teach workshops, self-development workshops. So I could be like, oh, if I get 3 more listings, then, then I'll feel good this month. Or if I teach 2 more workshops on these topics, I really want to teach these topics, then I'll feel some satisfaction. And actually, that's putting the cart before the horses. So we can still teach those workshops. I can still get those listings. And if I'm doing it from a consciousness of who I really am, the entire experience can be enjoyable. The entire experience gets transformed when I know who I am. When I think I'm my body, and when I think I'm dependent on the material results, that's when suffering actually is there. Because then we need an outcome. We're attached to an outcome, right? In the Bhagavad Gita later on, it says, don't be attached to the fruits of your work. And some people might be like, what? I've seen one writer, actually, the writer of Eat, Pray, Love, said, I love that. Like, oh, that was freeing for me. Like, I could write a book, it could be a flop and I'll keep going. Or I'll write a book and it'll be a hit and I'll keep going. and I'm not going to be attached to the fruits, and it gives me power to just do my work. Right? So some people get like liberated by this concept, and some people get like, how is that possible? And so usually when we're thinking, how is it possible to let go of the fruits? It's because we are in the illusion that we're this body, and we're in the illusion that the fruits are going to solve our current challenge. So when we understand this situation, we're not going to solve this situation. We're not going to make ourselves immortal in this body. We're immortal as soon as we transform our consciousness to who we really are. So as we know, I'm a soul. Then we start to let go of I'm a woman. It can be like, oh, I'm Haripriya means I'm a soul in the body of a woman. I'm a soul in the body of a realtor. I'm a soul in the body of a self-development facilitator. So then I start to strengthen truth. I start to strengthen knowledge, real knowledge. And so, yeah, I just want to look at my notes for a moment. Yeah, so we're searching after pleasure. And once we get spiritual pleasure, then we don't have to get material pleasure. We don't have to seek the material pleasure. So as we rearrange the chair, sometimes it's to solve a problem, to get, conquer a challenge, get rid of pain or struggle. And sometimes it's for pleasure, like, oh, if I do this, then I'll enjoy. And so as the soul, knowing who you are, we need to start to understand, how do we get real pleasure? How does a soul actually enjoy? If I'm not the body, and if trying to enjoy from matter is going to be frustrating for me because I'm so much more beyond matter, right? So if I try to enjoy that I'm eternal, how can I enjoy that within a body? Matter is like, it's like weighing me down. So the idea that I'm going to enjoy through matter is also an illusion, like, because it's so temporary. And so the one thing that I really wanted to share that's really powerful is that the reason we take birth, right? Because let's get to the crux. Do we want to keep taking birth? Do we want to keep being embodied? Maybe. And so when we keep becoming embodied, it's because of our desires. So God is so kind, so loving. He's like a loving father, a really loving, kind father that wants to give you whatever you want. So there's awareness. There's a misconception of like, oh, if I enjoy like my father, or if I enjoy, basically he's a propagator of universes. So to think, oh, I wish I could enjoy like him, like that. Then God says, okay, I'll give you a planet and I'll give you that opportunity. Here's a body. You can become the master. And so as soon as we have those desires, then we come here. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, it also talks about the subtle, the mind's desire at the time of death is what creates your next body. Also what we merit based on some of our work and karma. And karma is very complex. I'm not going to get into it. It's actually very intricate. There's many layers of it, but it's also based on our desires, because the soul doesn't actually do much. Like, the soul is not lifting the arm. Material nature is doing that for us. The soul is desiring to lift the arm. And I actually had some realization about this, and I might get into it in the next class, where I could feel it. I could feel that it wasn't me that was lifting my arm, that it was me that was desiring it. And then it happened for me. The material energy, the material nature, this body that I'm in did, my bidding for me. So the soul can desire. And so based on our desires, like if we think, oh yeah, if I was just a CEO of that company, those desires, that misconception of if I rearrange these chairs, I'll be happy, that's actually what leads us to our next birth, our plans. So when I read this, it was just yesterday, I refreshed my memory of it, and I was reading the purport and listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, who translated Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it blew my mind, actually, because he said it's the plan making that becomes the entanglement. And it's like, I'm guilty of plan making. I plan make every day. So just to really pause and think, wow, it's the plan making. So like, what consciousness am I coming with when I make my plans? So he said the plan making is actually what gets us to take another birth, because we're wanting something. We're still hankering after some experience with the illusion that that experience is going to be, that's going to be the one that fully satisfies us. Even though we've had a desire and it's been fulfilled, and then we had another desire and then it was fulfilled, we can look back and we can see that that's happened many times in our lives. No matter how much we struggle, no matter how financially, in challenge we are or affluent we are. Like, the reality is we all have experiences where we wanted something and we thought like that was going to really satisfy us, and we got that thing. And then what happened? Maybe it lasted for some time, and then we thought something else was going to actually bring us satisfaction. So we've been on this hamster wheel of illusion. And that the wheel that keeps spinning is our plans, our desires. So we get to stop and like look at our plans and our desires and really think, is it worth it? Do I really want this plan so that then I'll take birth again? See, God is so kind. He gives us, Prabhupada said, use the word, a toy body. He said, like a father gives a toy. God's giving you a toy body. Here's your toy body. Get inside and do whatever it is you think you want to do that's going to satisfy you, right? Thank you for bringing up the verse 21. So that's exactly where I'm going. So, so that's the crux of this repeated birth and death. And so then Prabhupada says, so how do we get out of that? How do we get purified of that illusion? How do we wake up our real consciousness? And he said, give up your designations. That's how. You give up the idea, excuse me, I'm American, I'm a woman. He said, give that up. So how do we talk to ourselves, right? We can start to let that go deeper. As I said in the beginning, we might go, yeah, I'm a soul. Okay, well, how often do we say that to ourselves? Do we wake up and look in the mirror and go, I'm a soul in Haripriya's body today? Like, I'm gonna make it a beautiful day. And how often are we giving ourselves that message? Before we go to bed, do we lay in bed and go, I'm a soul in this body. The body's going to rest now. And I'm a soul within this body that needs to take rest. So I invite you to maybe try on giving up designations and creating a connection to the real designation, spiritualizing your consciousness just by reminding yourself regularly, I'm a soul. I'm not this body. So in the next verse, it says, 21, O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So someone who really has this knowledge, right? This is Krishna speaking. He knows this knowledge. And Arjuna ends up knowing this knowledge also. And actually it's said that he knew it all along. He just allowed himself to be covered by illusion for the sake of the teaching to be had, so that we could actually benefit from this teaching that became the Bhagavad Gita. It was really a half an hour conversation, right? But it's deep. So one thing, the main point I wanted to make on this verse, actually, and I wanted to address all the permanency of us first, to really be in this mindset that we're permanent, that we don't die, and we can gain that realization, we can gain that consciousness, we can gain that awareness by cultivating it, by reminding ourselves regularly of it, by reminding ourselves actually of that if I'm a soul, any activity that is spiritual, that is an offering to God, knowing that I'm a leaf on the tree and I'm going to water the roots so that I feel nourished, as opposed to knowing I'm a leaf on a tree and I sometimes remember and I sometimes forget and I sometimes pour the water on my head and then I feel like I'm dying. I feel so miserable. I'm drying up. Oh, because there's a tree here that I'm attached to. And if I pour water on the roots, that's actually what I need to do. Even though I want to pour the water on myself, I want to give myself whatever I think I want. I actually know, wait, if I give the tree, I give the source, I give God any love, any attention, any service, I can offer food or incense or prayers or songs, meditation, anything, just even my attention. If I offer that, that's offering water on the root of the tree. And then, oh, the leaf gets like, oh, yes, I'm satisfied. Because we're non-different qualitatively. We are always intrinsically connected to God. We cannot separate ourselves, actually. And not as we're distinct. We're not like merging, but we're distinct and we're connected. And as soon as we serve the source, then we actually become fulfilled and we get spiritual enjoyment. And you don't have to take my word for it. Try it out. Just try it out, And we can see it in day to day in the material world. You can see that people who serve are kind of that. They report to be the happiest, whether they're serving something external or their family or their society or their government or we're serving all the time. We can't get away from service because it's our nature. So then when we turn that propensity towards our source, towards our Father who's given us everything, we give back to that Father. We develop that loving relationship. Then we are nourished directly because we're leaves on his tree. So one thing I wanted to share really quick, I know time is running out, so I don't look like I'll have time for questions today, but I will say that on this verse, I wanted to specify something. Some people accuse this advice as like, oh, well, if we don't die, we can kill people. And especially in this day and age when there is war, and unfortunately, there's war in the name of religion, which means, unfortunately, that they've missed the point. They've missed the real message of religion. The real message is the unity, is that we're all the children of God. So if your religion isn't helping you know that everyone is a beloved child of God, then there's something missing here. Then there's been human material conceptions mixed in with the deeper philosophy and the deeper spiritual message that we are all children of God, and that God loves all of us equally. So when it says no one dies, it doesn't mean, we can just kill. I can just kill someone who gets on my nerves because they don't die. They're not their body. So this is not what this text is saying. So in this purport, it's really powerful. It was either in the purport or in the lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave. No, I think it says it in this purport. So, and I'm going to read it because I think it's most concise. So, if the justice of the peace awards a capital punishment to a person who's condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed because he ordered the violence to that person according to the codes of justice. So, for example, if you've killed someone and you're in a court, and if your judge says, okay, you've been sentenced to death, it's not that judge is committing violence. That judge is trying to bring justice. And actually, in the codes of reincarnation, if you kill, you will be killed. So to be killed in this life, in the same life that you were killed, actually serves you because now you've burned off that karma. If you take birth again, or you live this life out and you take birth again, you'll be killed as a reaction. So I can't claim at all to know this in depth, because karma is very, very intricate and expansive. And at the same time, I want to say that Krishna is God. So if God is standing in front of you saying, I've decided to wipe out this entire race because of the corruption, please get on the battle and fight. That's your duty. I've already killed all of these soldiers. I already know time. I'm time. So time, God is time. So whether time kills them, like God kills them in the form of time, or whether Arjuna is going to come on the battle and kill, it's what God ordained in that experience, because God was actually physically present on planet Earth. So we cannot claim that now. God is not here. There's no one who has demonstrated all power, all beauty, all fame, all wealth, mystic powers, depth to that degree. So God did perform miracles. When Krishna was here, there's various ways to show that was God. So justice of the peace, or a judge, a Supreme Court, whoever is part of the justice system that then decides if someone gets killed, those are different levels than you and I. So I just want to make that point clear, that the Bhagavad Gita is not at all condoning killing in the name of religion, not at all. So that's not exactly it's not what this text is saying, but I wanted to make sure that's not ever understood from it. And so I'd rather end on a little bit of a happier note instead of that point. So I'll just say, just like the Father's giving us this toy body, so we can now use this body as a soul engaged in love and service and devotion towards God. And that will be the proper usage, and that will satisfy us, instead of trying to use the body to try to enjoy it by ourselves, which ends up frustrating us in the real big picture. We get some drop of enjoyment and satisfaction compared to what we can experience. Just like what Srila Prabhupada experienced, he was the walking example of constant service, and he was internally satisfied. He didn't need anything externally. So at least that's my goal, is to move in that direction. Even if I'm at the bottom rung of the ladder, those are the ladders I want to climb, is spiritual happiness, spiritual satisfaction that's permanent. Thank you, Subhadra.
Thank you, Haripriya, for sharing the realizations. I know that it's your own experience which actually connects with people, so it's very important not only studying but practicing. So thanks so much for sharing your experience that's coming from the practice that you perform every day. And something that I would like to say, just to briefly summarize, is that, well, beyond the fact that we could try to intellectually understand that we are eternal, is what you've explained in this class, and it's that we need to start acting as we really knew that, as if we really knew that we're eternal. It's not enough just to think, oh yes, I'm an eternal soul. That you have to do something about it. Like, there is a problem for the eternal soul, and that is, it's kept here. It's kept unaware of itself. And as you said, our plans, our desires, which are separated from the source of everything, from God, is what keep us here, unaware, unconscious of ourselves. And we need to start and practicing, to walk towards the practical experience of the eternal soul. So thanks so much for sharing this, and I hope to see you in the next chapter, Haripriya.
Thank you, Subhadra.
So thanks to everyone for being a part of this project. And we hope you can leave your comments and questions for our speakers, or we'll be more than happy to address them on Instagram Reels, or they're going to reply to your comments or address your question in another episode. So we will have our next class on Monday at 7:30 p.m. EST. We hope that you can catch up our past episodes if you haven't on our YouTube channel at Ashram Talks English. Follow us on Instagram at Ashram Talks ENG. And I'll see you then on Monday. Thank you so much.